Hello, hello, we're live.
Hello, we are live. What's the odds with Steve Rannazzisi coming to us from Mexico? What's up, Steve?
Hey, guys, how are you?
Good, man.
What's going on? We are live.
We are
in
live.
The All Things Comedy Studio and from beautiful Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. I'm walking down the stairs from the pool to the hotel room to give you my undivided attention. The time zone change got me a little messed up, plus a little bit of day drinking. Mm-hmm. And, that on top of that leads me to this moment right here. Thank you guys for going into the studio and joining me. We have Eric Oligny, Brenton Biddlecombe, as always, and our guest this week, my man from the Comedy Store, the one, the only, you know him from podcasts, from stand-up, Mr. Lucas Hirl, our
the
NFL
Rain Man
draft
of the NFL draft.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you very much for being on, dude. And of course, Emma is on the board. I'm back in my room getting my headphones on as we speak. So, guys, this is a big week for the NFL. Like I said before, I didn't realize that even up till yesterday, and I know tomorrow there'll be moves made. There'll be players exchanged, but I guess Clark on Seattle got traded for.
He must plug his headphones in.
And we're back. Can you hear us?
I like the teaser.
No, it was.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. We just lost video.
Riveting content.
There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Oof, that was quick, guys. Sorry about that. What happened? What did I miss?
Seahawks trade Frank Clark to Kansas City in exchange for a first-round draft pick and a 2020 second-round draft pick, and they swapped their third-round picks in 2019.
And just, was there, did they sign him to a deal or something like that? Like an extension after that? Because wasn't there a beef about him going to or wanting to get an extension and not getting it and getting franchised? Was that what happened?
Right. Yeah, he got new money. I think he got about $105 million.
Oh, wow. Is he that good?
I
mean, he's on my radar, but you didn't even know who he was?
He had 13 sacks last year.
He got a 5-year contract worth $105.5 million with $63.5 million guaranteed.
Wow, really?
Which, if you're
That's
Kansas,
big money for a guy for 1 year. I mean, is that better than like a Justin Houston option for
Well, the Chiefs feel that he fills the immediate need they need on the edge with one of the league's top pass rushers. They're expected to transition to a 4-3 base defense because they have a new defensive coordinator, and they got rid of Dee Ford to San Francisco, so bringing him in was a big deal.
Man, that's a lot of money for a dude I never heard of before.
It is, but they got a second-round pick for Dee Ford from San Francisco, so really they're just giving up a first-round pick if you look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Does Kansas City they have no draft picks in the first round then, right? Correct?
No, they do not.
And they didn't have a first-round pick last year either because the Bills had their first-round pick because they traded it the year before that to get Patrick Mahomes. So
they're banking on this shoring up their defense based and as far as pressuring the quarterback, and then they made some secondary moves, right? Who did they signed one of those safeties, didn't they? Didn't they sign or a cornerback or something like that? I can't remember who they signed, but I think that they dealt with whatever they felt like their needs were on the secondary, because look, that was their weakness. It was blatantly obvious in the playoffs, especially the championship game. And I mean, I don't know. That's a lot of money to pay for a guy that I'd never heard of. But
he's got 58,000 followers on Twitter.
58,000 followers on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, he's known by somebody.
I guess, right? Huh. So overall, do you think that there will be any major blockbuster trades tomorrow? Do you think that there will be someone who you're like, I didn't think that guy was going to get moved, or anything like first round, like basically yesterday's trade or greater going forward tomorrow?
I do. I think Josh Rosen probably goes. If they take Kyler Murray, the Cardinals have to trade him almost as fast as they can, because otherwise teams will draft Haskins, they'll draft the Duke quarterback, they'll draft Drew Lock from Missouri, and they're kind of going to have less teams to trade him to, you know what I mean? So as soon as they draft Kyler Murray, they're going to be trying to get rid of Rosen.
And you think it's going to be they draft Kyler Murray, and then obviously it's a situation where it's already. The move already has to be in writing or already been made. They're not going to look for a team to be compatible with after they draft Kyler Murray. The trade's already going to be had. The work's already been done already. So, who do you think that team is? Who do you think that team that they trade with is?
I think the Redskins are a high possibility. I've heard the Giants, but I've also heard that's not so much an option. The Redskins, it seemed to be the team most talked about the most.
Because what do you think it's going to take, Lucas? I mean, to me, if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, right, I'm going to take the Kyler Murray and then trade him for what? At least a first-round draft pick. That's what he was, right, last year.
You're talking
so you're
Rosen?
Getting at least, for Josh Rosen. You're going to get at least a first-round draft pick.
I don't think so. I think a second round, possibly a high third. They're going to have to.
Really?
And they traded up to get Rosen last year, which is the crazy
Yeah, he was
part.
what, the 8th, 10th pick last year?
10th. The Cardinals were originally picking like 15, so they had to give up probably a second or third last year just to get up and get him.
So that's admitting defeat as right there, because you're giving up a first-round draft pick and getting back less than that, unless you get a second and a fourth round or something like that. But still, I mean, first-round talent has to go for first-round talent in my eye. Yeah. And so that's why I'm like, wait, who are the dumb fools that we can find to give us 2 first-round draft picks? Oh, I've got it, the New York Giants. They need a quarterback. And so the Giants are giving up the 10th and the 17th, or whatever they have, the 6th and the 17th pick that they got from Cleveland for Odell. And next thing you know, we're saddled with maybe Joe Flacco.
Right.
Best case scenario in my mind. Right? I don't know how you evaluated them, but I didn't see much of them last year. They played the Rams once. We went to the game, and I don't even know if he played. They were terrible.
Well,
Arizona was terrible.
He's had, I want to say, 6 position coaches in 6 years of football, so he's not really ever had consistency. You really don't know what Josh Rosen is right now.
Yeah.
So I really feel bad for him. But as far as getting a first-round pick for him, the only quarterback I can think that – you remember Rick Meyer for the Seahawks?
Yeah.
He was a first-round pick and kind of had a good rookie year, but then not so hot after that. But then the Bears gave up a first-round pick to trade for him. So he was almost a bust for 2 teams. I don't think that will happen with Rosen. I think a second-round pick, if the Cardinals are offered that, they will take it. For sure, even possibly a third. But I think he'll be dealt tomorrow. It's my prediction.
And you believe that they're just in love with Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
this is the fit for my offense that I want to run, and the dream offense that I sold to you guys when I got the job. That maybe we could have fit around Josh Rosen, but really, really works with Kyler Murray. And this, I mean, look. If you're the Cardinals, it's that's a lot to give to a brand new coach. The keys to a brand new car, and then also how to build it and how to do everything.
Well, he's the one that wants Murray. If Cliff Kingsbury wasn't the coach of the Cardinals, I think they would stick with Rosen. But he's coming from Texas A&M or Texas Tech, wherever he was, and he was recruiting Murray since he was in high school. So he's known Murray for 7 years.
And he has that infamous comment on where he's like, if that was I'd be my first round draft pick, hands down. So. He's on the record saying it. Now, obviously, that was a different situation. He wasn't the coach then, but now he is, and the guy's available, and it seems to work with what he wants to do there in Arizona. So I feel like, they're going to do it. But I'm like, who are they going to get, and what are they going to get for Josh Rosen?
It's crazy.
And who are the rubes that are going to give him too much? And like you said, it's got the New York Giants name all over it. I'm like, fuck.
Do you not want the Giants to get him?
No. I got to be honest with you. I don't. I really don't. I don't know much about him, but I'm like, I'm not a big. The Giants have always been like, we drafted our quarterback. We never really took a guy off another heap or another, a garbage pile. We got Phil Simms. We got Eli Manning through the draft, and so that's how I'm just used to developing our guys. And the Giants have never been a team or an organization that's been like, hey, we're going to get most of the guys whose names you want on your back were guys that were homegrown and developed, as is most guys in the NFL. So I don't know if I'm like interested in getting, Josh Rosen but I'm hoping that we draft. They know enough about Haskins, and they go, look, this is our guy. He's got a talent, an unbelievable arm, a great knowledge of the game. He doesn't have a ton of experience, but we'll work with him. And he's the kind of guy that is going to move outside the pocket and play more of a street ball kind of offense that our guys feel like they want to play with. That's why we've signed these Sterling Shepards to longer-term deals and the Golden Tates to longer-term deals. These guys that are like slot receivers and are going to move around, and he can move outside the pocket, and then he throws the ball with accuracy. So if they tell me that on tomorrow, hey, we drafted Dwayne Haskins because this is the reason why, and this is what I'm like, okay, good. You've done your due diligence. Whatever moves you've made to this point, you've done. And now whatever you're going to do with that other pick that you get for Odell, well then, yeah, that you're going to have to explain to me what your plan is with that. But that, to me, is best case scenario for the Giants.
I like Dave Gettleman, though, because he really is a best player available GM. He takes the highest guy on their board. He showed it last year when he took Barkley. And I really hope that whoever they take as far as quarterbacks go, that he works out, because it makes the Barkley pick justified, which I already think it is.
Is it not Haskins in your mind?
I like Haskins. I hope they don't take that Daniel Jones from Duke. I'm not a big fan of his. I've never seen a Duke player go in the first round, and I've been following the draft for 15 years. I didn't even know Duke had a football program.
Yeah.
And
I was about to say Julius Peppers, but he's North Carolina, right?
Yeah, he's North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So that's the only one that worries me. Drew Lock, I don't think they'll take from Missouri. Haskins seems to be the guy.
Drew Lock, to me, I don't know enough about. Drew Lock, to me, says like he reads to me like he could be a Carson Wentz or like a guy you're like, oh, those North Dakota schools that you don't know much about, but they end up being just like a Ben Roethlisberger or a worst case scenario like Blake Bortles. You're like, oh, okay, a big, sturdy, in the pocket quarterback. And so I don't know a lot about Drew Lock. Is that what it?
But yeah, no, that's a good. That's a good read. But that's a really bad. Blake Bortles is a bad worst case scenario. I hope. But the last Missouri quarterback was Blaine Gabbert, and he went like 9th overall. So that worries me. If Drew Lock's
so if
like
you're
Blaine
the Giants,
Gabbert,
though, if you're the Giants and you're Gettleman, who do you take if there's no quarterbacks taken so far? Oh, all right. Say the Cardinals take what's his name?
Murray.
Murray. Yeah. So he's off the board. You're now picking for the Giants. No other quarterbacks. Who do you take?
Josh Allen has been mocked to them a lot. The defensive end from Kentucky. That's probably who I'd take.
Yeah.
I would take a pass rusher. Reminds me. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of JPP, except he has a full hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I would take probably Josh Allen. Also, somebody.
And so you're gonna live with Eli Manning for the rest of the year as quarterback. If you're Gettleman, that's their guy for this year. We'll look for a quarterback next year.
I mean, that's more a question for you. Do you like Eli for another year?
No, we need a quarterback. No.
Well, then I think you take Haskins. I think you have to take. I think that's probably the earliest Haskins is going to go, unless the Raiders really surprise teams. Because you know what the Raiders did last week, right? They let all their scouts go home.
No, what happened? When did they do this? No.
Did you read this, Brenton?
Mm-mm.
Last week, John Gruden and Mike Mayock sent all their scouts home, which is kind of strange. As a headline on ESPN. Just because they don't want a lot of teams don't have the scouts in the room when they draft. Some do, some don't. But the Raiders, they're just paranoid, and they're saying that they're going to take a surprise pick at number 4, and they don't want anything getting leaked out. So yeah, they kind of dismissed all their scouts the week before the draft.
They weren't John Gruden.
Huh.
They weren't John Gruden's scouts.
Really?
Yeah, they weren't, and they weren't hired by Gruden either. So they were, scouts from the previous regime.
So what's their game plan then? Like, what is their? How do you have a game plan if like all that information just walks out the door?
Well, what's their biggest need?
I mean, they got so many. They have 3 first-round picks tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the Raiders, they have needs everywhere. They have to replace Mack. They have to replace Cooper. A lot of people have them taking the only running back in the first round, the Josh Jacobs from Alabama. So I think with their first-round pick, they'll probably take a D lineman that falls. They're saying there's 5 or 6 stars in this draft.
Hold on, I'll be right back. I can hear you, but I can't see you for a second. Keep talking.
Do you think that the Patriots are going to take a quarterback to back up Brady, like to actually have a solid backup?
I could see it, but they're picking 32. So if they take a quarterback, it's
not going to be anybody substantial.
Yeah, I will. Of course, the draft analysts will over dramatize it and talk about how they're taking Brady's replacement, but like it's. You can take a quarterback in the first round and not play him for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. It's been done many times.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Right.
And that's the way you should do it.
Right.
That's the best way to do it.
Right.
To have the tutelage, yes, but I don't look. I agree with that. That's why I feel like we need a first-round draft pick quarterback that Eli Manning can then mold and work with. You look at Joe Flacco. He is blatantly stated, I do not want them to draft a quarterback. I'm not interested in molding someone else. I believe Eli Manning he is. So that's why I feel like we've got the situation set up where we can draft a quarterback either at our first draft pick in the first round or our second, depending on who we want and where we can get them, and then have Eli start to mold that person. I'm not saying they got to start right out of the gate, but we do not have. This is not another 2 or 3 year guy. This is best case scenario 6 games this year. I feel like Eli will last.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot remember when Eli was a rookie and Kurt Warner was the starter, and Warner had a good first 6 games. I want to say the Giants were probably like 3-3, 4-2, and then Eli was put in.
Yeah, I want to see a guy outwork Eli. That's what I want. I want someone to go, hey. Obviously, and have it be obvious, like this guy is better than Eli, and let's hand him the ball, make sure he gets the reps. The way Johnny Manziel just, did it to Tyrod Taylor last year. It was like, hey, this is blatantly obvious in practice. This guy's moving the ball and commanding this offense better than the guy we have in place. So let's give it a shot. We're a franchise in rebuild right now. Let's make it work. And so that's what I want. I want that guy that they draft. And I feel like you got to get that guy in the first round. I don't know. I'm not like you, Lucas, where it's like depth charts, quarterbacks. Is there a Tom Brady we can get in the 6th round? I don't know.
I love that. Every draft, the analysts are like, who's the next Tom Brady? Who's the next Tom Brady? Tom Brady is a once-in-a-lifetime guy. There's not going to be a guy that goes in the 6th round pick every year.
Yeah.
It's maybe every decade that could happen. But Tom Brady.
we drafted David Webb. We have him as a backup, and it's like, he was a 4th round draft pick. But it's like, obviously, he's not the guy.
Yeah.
He would have outworked Eli Manning.
Yeah.
At this point, if he was the guy.
Yeah.
I want the guy that's going to outwork and be better than Eli Manning.
But
to go, hey, I might not know this offense as well as you know it, but I know enough to go, hey, this is what I'm capable of, and move over, old man. And he'll do that. He'll do that, I think.
Is Jared Lorenzen still in the league? The 290 pound.
Dude, he was so fat. I mean, so fat.
He was
like
280.
The ball once in a while. Yeah, humongous.
Looked like Sebastian Janikowski.
He looked like he would wear like kicker pads, like like the ones that the kickers wear. Like, hey, these are like regulation. You got to put them on, fatso. Like you can't just go out there in a shirt.
What about the Giants fans that are saying that like you guys want to tank so you can get Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama?
Well, look, so it's like, but I'm looking at it like, is this guy Zion Williamson? I don't think so. Why are we tanking another fucking year? You're going to tell a franchise that they have to spend $1 billion in resource to get maybe a quarterback? We should fucking find a goddamn quarterback this fucking year, dude. Enough is enough.
I love it.
All right?
I agree.
It's enough. It's enough. You made the moves. We got our generational running back. We have the tools to make a good offensive line. We're known for our defense. It's our organizational skill. We're going to build a good defense. We'll make it fucking work. All right? Where's the guy that's not going to turn the ball over and move it down the field and get the ball to the playmakers?
Eli.
Well, maybe.
No.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. But I feel like Eli still might think he's Eli. And that's when we get into big problems.
Right.
We need Trent Dilfer Eli, not Eli. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know my favorite thing about tomorrow, though, Steve, is that something's going to come out about one of these top 10 prospects, and it's going to cause them to drop.
I know. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you'll see like a TMZ report about a bong mask or something, or someone hit so-and-so, and it's like, man, that's a whole new level of just fucking with people and their bank accounts. You know there are dudes right now sitting in their hotel room in New York, right? Either counter-strategizing or just sweating it out, going, man, I hope tomorrow is not the day that shoe drops.
Yes.
Even though I know that if the shoe's going to drop, it should be tomorrow.
Yes.
And probably sweating it out. And look, whatever it is, you judge it based on each case by case. There are severity and the levels of which you're like, oh, man, that person might not be a great person. But then there are just fucking guys that just made dumb mistakes like we all do. And watching that be character-based and then, being timed to come out tomorrow just to be able to drop them. You go from the first to second round, that's, $10 million in guaranteed money, Lucas?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Laramie Tunsil,
Probably.
with that bong mask, they say he lost between $30 and $35 million.
30 to 35 million bucks. So, I mean, it's a brutal business, but
it's insane. You can't believe anything that you read coming out this week either. As far as what teams are saying they plan on doing, or rumors, or buzz.
No. Like Seattle loved it. I think Seattle loved fucking with everyone for the last 2 days, saying we're not moving that guy, Clark, and then they moved him,
Right.
I didn't even hear about it till I heard about it, and I was like, oh, okay, they moved him because they said they were going to move him.
Right.
And that's how this game's played. It's like the Odell Beckham thing. It's all a big chess game at this point. And so, look, we did the one episode of the league where I got to sit in for John Schneider, the Seahawks GM, at the draft. And we spent an hour together just talking about what that day's like. And he's like, it's complete chaos where we have a game plan, but then it's like all things fall apart when the guy you think you may have wanted is now up there. And now you have to have, they try to script it, and they tell me they got it scripted down to the very last case scenario. But, you don't know what's going to happen when so-and-so gets moved, or you never thought that was possible, or this player is now available, and now you have an opportunity. And it's like that guy you've always had in the back of your mind that you've coveted is now on the board, but you might want to take this person. That whole Tyler Austin thing, it's like, who the fuck is this guy? Yeah. And next thing you know, it's like, no, this is the guy we've had the entire time our eyes on, because of this reason. And so, yeah, man, look, I don't love it as much as you do, Lucas, but I'm for sure, as a fan of the Giants, completely 100% vested, especially in this year, as to what I believe the game plan is versus what they think the game plan is and how they're going to make it work. Because you get 2 draft picks in the first round, this is your Super Bowl. Your Super Bowl happens now.
Yeah.
And it's as big as a playoff game, because if you screw up tomorrow, it's going to be a long fucking season.
Yep.
A long season. If you Johnny Manziel it, or and we can do it. Every team's capable. It doesn't have to be the Cleveland Browns. The Giants are perfectly capable of Johnny Manzieling it.
Well, and I think the Giants take a quarterback.
Or Ryan Leafing it,
Yeah, I think if they take a quarterback, they should take him at 6, because I'm very weary about quarterbacks going later in the first. I always think of Manziel. I think of Brady Quinn. All these guys that, are supposed to go in the top 5 the day before the draft, and they just inexplicably drop the day of the draft. There's a reason they drop.
Yeah.
Did you see?
There is.
Did you see the movie Draft Day?
Yes, is that the one with Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie. It's so stupid, but I love it.
I saw it on a plane. I fell asleep.
Oh, really?
But it was like, I was like, look, I get Kevin Costner. I love his intensity, and he's great at those sports movies. That's his, Tin Cup is one of my favorites. So, But yeah, I'd be like, oh, I get the gist of this. This is going to be like we're in the war room. I've got my situation happening. You've got your situation happening, but there's personal issues involved as well. I was like, I'll figure this out. I'm falling asleep.
But it's a great like dissection of the draft process because they have this great quarterback who's supposed to go first overall, and then they do the research and they talk to the college coach. They're like, why didn't anybody come to his birthday party? And like apparently he doesn't have any friends on the team or whatever. He's not a leader. And then the day of the draft, the guy just keeps he just keeps falling because it turns out that every team kind of has the same
read on
him. And nobody talks to each other, but everybody's doing their own research. It's an Ivan Reitman film too. So,
but going back to your point before, those things used to just be discussed way before the draft, and those little tidbits of like who was a good person and who was a bad person were all sussed out before. But like you said, in the new age of being able to drop a bomb on social media and have it have that immediate impact, that's like. You're like, oh, well, maybe we should just save this rather than letting someone know. And as much as these investigators try to get to the bottom of stuff, I'm sure there are people that have scraping their social media profiles from years back a long time ago. But who knows how far back people know shit?
Yeah,
it's got to be the teams doing it too, so they can get the player for cheaper.
Yeah, and they'll make up medical concerns too. They'll say like, oh, hey, this guy has Montez Sweat has a heart condition.
Yeah,
and he was going to be a top 10 pick. Now he's probably going to fall out of the top 10, I'm guessing.
Because of that heart condition.
Because of the heart condition.
Yep, and that was disclosed when?
About a week or two ago?
At the Combine? No.
It was at the Combine?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they didn't get it then?
What's that?
Did they get it at the Combine or no?
I just remember hearing about it in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I think they discovered it around the Combine or evaluation process pro day, but it's a heart condition, so who knows how it's going to affect him. There have been
that's that stuff you're like, that's tough news, like health stuff you're like, okay, I understand that. Like I always thought like Todd Gurley he went in the first round, right?
Yeah.
Coming off of that devastating, was it ACL, MCL?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, that's a big risk. You're going to assume that guy comes back and he's young and he's healthy, but like that is more like, hey, who is this person's character? We got to judge is he going to be like, is he going to get this big contract and then work as hard as he can, maybe do the rehab to come back just to get that money, or is he going to try to become what he wanted to always be and work that hard to get there? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's tough thing. That's a tough thing that you can't measure that in reps in the bench or a 40 time. That's something you have to like sit down with these dudes and figure out.
Well, that's why you hear some of the questions that teams ask players at the Combine, and like they're outrageous questions. Like I'm sure you've heard some of them, right? Like anything. Like they'll ask like like was your mom a stripper or what? Like just to see how they react, like in the moment. And one of my favorite.
My mama?
Yeah, right. One of my favorite stories was, you remember Willis McGahee? He was supposed to be a top 5 pick, and then he injured his ACL in the championship game. And everybody thought he'd fall out of the first round. His agent was Drew Rosenhaus. On draft day, Drew was on one end of the phone. Willis was on the other. And whenever ESPN would cut to Willis, it looked like he was talking to teams. So other teams thought, oh, if we want Willis McGahee, we should get him now, even though we won't have him for the first year. So the Bills bought in. They didn't know that he was actually talking to his agent on the other end of the line, who was also in the same room as Willis. They were just, playing it up for the cameras, and the Bills took him at 23.
I remember McGahee's injury. Was that the Orange Bowl, dude?
Yeah, it's a championship
game. Oh my God, that was
gruesome.
Another one where you're like, this guy may never play again. Like you wonder, now you know why those guys don't do the bowl games. You're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, who do you think is going to be the most impactful player on the offensive side and the defensive side drafted tomorrow?
Joey Bosa on defense. I think he's.
You think he's generational?
As sure as you can
got
get.
It in his. Yep.
Yeah. His brother is amazing.
But you don't think the Cardinals are going to take him?
No, they probably should.
So who's got 2?
The Cardinals or the Niners, and I think they'll take Bosa for sure. I'll be shocked if they don't take Bosa.
And they need help on the defensive end for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Offense is hard. Offense is harder because it seems in the top 10, other than Murray, and then the Iowa tight end Hawkinson, who I could see going top 10. There's the top 10 is going to be mostly D linemen, linebackers. It's not going to be a receiver's probably not going to go in the top 15. I'm guessing.
If there is one, they're saying the Bills might take.
DK.
Yeah, what team takes the first wide receiver? Who's got the biggest wide receiver need?
DK Metcalf from Ole Miss is the number. He's
the number one
on
the board. But which team do you think needs the wide receiver, or which one goes for a wide receiver? Because it seems like you need skill. Like I feel like the first round is like those like generational players like Saquon Barkley, and then like those skill positions like offensive tackle or right guard, or like those kind of like this is a guy who will be there for 10 years, a Joe Thomas, but. And obviously, wide receivers can go if they're super talented. Like the year we did the whole thing, we took Odell Beckham. We did that episode of the league where I got to do the draft or the combine with them, and so I got to work with Mike Evans. And I was like, dude, I really wanted you. I coveted his height and his like ability to go get the ball. I thought he's going to be, and he obviously is. But he's like, no, you'll see with Odell what you're getting. And so yeah, there are those guys, but like. I feel like most wide receivers don't go top 15 picks.
Yeah, that was a strange year. There were a lot of great receivers. The Bills traded up to get Sammy Watkins that year, and Watkins was supposed to be a generational talent.
Yeah, and wasn't Jarvis Landry that year too?
I think so.
Or was he? Okay.
Yeah, because he was Odell Beckham's roommate.
Yeah, roommate. Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy year for wide receivers. But yeah, I don't know what team. I don't even know what team really was in the top 10 or 15 picks. Would anyone need a wide receiver or like someone? And I mean, obviously need someone.
Yeah, and I also think that this year there's not a receiver worthy of the top 15.
No, yeah. Buffalo and Detroit both need a wide receiver.
They need it, but if they're taking one that early, it's kind of a stretch.
There's not a lot of talent.
By the way, it's 10 more minutes before happy hour ends, and I gotta get a couple beers before that. So yeah. I'm gonna wrap up my section. I want to ask you guys a few more questions before you guys continue on.
Yeah.
Number one. Do you think that there's a big level between Haskins, Kyler Murray, and then the rest of the quarterback class? And do you think that there will be a running back taken in the first round tomorrow?
I do think there will be a running back. I think Josh Jacobs probably goes from Alabama. I think there is a big drop-off after Haskins. You think it's those two guys and then a drop off after Haskins to whatever you said, Locke or the other guy? Yeah, I'm not a fan. Locke I like more than the Duke quarterback Daniel Jones, but I see Jones mocked to the Giants a decent amount because of the whole David Cutcliffe connection. He's a Duke coach, and he's a big friend of the Mannings. So, but I hope that doesn't happen because the Giants were always kind of my second team. Growing up, my brother and I would play Tecmo Super Bowl, and he'd always get to be the Bills, so I'd have to be another team. And I think they gave Lawrence Taylor cocaine in that game because he was insane.
Oh, 100%. And as they did in every real game.
Yeah.
So, just so that you know, yeah. And when he plays recreational golf, as I have happened to have done with him once or twice before. So, yeah. And it's probably for breakfast as well. So, yeah, Tecmo Bowl, dude, that was the greatest.
Yeah.
The Giants were so good. Did you have Joe Morris as the running back?
Yep, and Phil Simms.
Yep.
So
good, dude.
As a guy who roots for the Giants in the NFC, I hope that they get Haskins at 6 and at 17 they fill the best player available, which I could easily see them doing.
By the way, I don't mind the if you said before the Redskins going after they need a quarterback. Alex Smith, I don't think is ever going to play football again. Yeah. And you know what? I look at Josh Rosen and I go, oh, that could be like an Alex Smith 2.0, the same sort of style quarterback, that drop back, tall passer, got a good arm. So maybe that's a move that they make. But for the Giants, I don't see that as I feel like that's a lateral to backwards move and not what one we wanted to make with the year of draft picks that we have going forward.
Yeah, but if they don't give up much for him, I do think Rosen can be a good quarterback, and I think he'll also be pretty pissed because he's You got to kind of feel bad for the guy.
Lucas Hirl, if you are willing Josh Rosen to the New York Giants right now, I promise you, I'm going to hurt you when I get back to Los Angeles.
Just give him a shot, man.
All right.
I guarantee they'll sell you on him.
I'm just glad you're like, oh, we got to feel bad for this guy who has the richest family. He's lived the greatest life.
Yeah, that is the big criticism. I remember coming out of the draft last year.
Yeah, he's like a spoiled rich kid from Orange County, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for him at all.
Yeah. One of the knocks, because I love reading the positives and negatives on each player. One of the negatives last year is like he's an atheist. Yeah.
He's my I'm Ari Shafir. He's my new favorite player. Jewish atheist, well-to-do.
Right.
I'm down. I'm 100% down.
Yeah, Ari's hoping the Cowboys get him.
All right, real quick because happy hour's ending, and I'm going back to happy hour.
Yeah.
How many main characters die this week on Game of Thrones when the war starts? I say 2.
Just 2?
Just 2? I've seen so many theories that say at least 5.
Yeah.
5 in one episode.
Yes.
Don't say one episode.
I don't think it'll be all main
100%.
characters, but there will definitely be
He's
some
saying main
big
character.
names.
He's saying main
But
character.
there's so many main characters, but I think there's
There
going to
are
be some
currently,
people
of
dying.
all the main characters, there are, just looking at this list without counting, at least 35 to 40 main characters left. At least 5 are going to die this next episode.
Oh, absolutely.
Brianna
You
Tarr.
think 5 are going?
Yeah, Brianna
I
Tarr
think
is for
Brianna's
sure going to die.
I think
She just
Podrick's
got
going to
knighted.
die.
Oh, come on. You're hurting me.
I know, but it makes sense, I think.
Which one's the one that just got knighted?
That's
Brianna
Brianna Tarr.
Yeah, she got
Dead.
Dead.
she's going.
Dead.
Jamie Lannister.
I don't think Jamie's going to die yet. I think he's
Theon Greyjoy.
got to take down Cersei first.
Did you see the love thing going on with Theon and
Yeah, Theon's going to die. He's
Sansa?
going to die doing something selfless to redeem his character.
Yeah, because he's going to protect Bran.
Yeah. He's gone.
I watched this past episode and with my wife in bed in the hotel, and I fell asleep, and then I woke up for a second, and I was like, "Ooh, finally!" A Game of Thrones nude scene. And I opened, and it was the girl with the eyebrows, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, I thought it was like I want to see like
The
one
child.
of these Game of Thrones like. Yeah, it's a child getting undressed. I'm like, where is the Game of Thrones sexual like things that I'm looking for? Where is what's her name, Khaleesi? She doesn't get naked anymore. It's
Season
over?
7.
Done.
He's got to
more.
rewind.
You got to go back and watch the other seasons.
No, I want nudity now from the people I want it from. Jon Snow.
It's
Wait,
very
did I
cold
say
in
that
the
out
north.
loud? I'm digging Winterfell though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know how long it'll be there for.
It's going to be over soon, but yeah. I mean, look, I think 2 guys go down, 2 big people. I think that lady got knighted and another big person, but 5 is a lot.
That's what. There are a lot of theories that are saying at least 5 people are dying on
5
Sunday.
for sure.
Jorah Mormont.
Yeah, I think Jorah might go. There have been 2 episodes and no one's died yet. They have to kill a bunch of people.
Well, it's like I look at these last seasons of all these shows, of these great like drama shows, like Sopranos. Like now they're going to start killing. Like Sopranos was like 2, then one big person, and then the person you never thought, and then like it'll be like that. But there's so many people on Game of Thrones, so you got to start lopping people off like at probably 2 or 3 people clips now, right?
At least.
I think Samwell Tarly's going to die, and Jon Snow's going to witness it, and it's going to be the fucking zombie dude.
Yeah,
The
I
Night
think
King.
Tormund
The Night
might
King.
die. He's real cocky.
So you
Samwell
think
Tarly will die.
Yeah, Sam's.
and then
That's
and
my
the lady
Vegas
that got
Dave
knighted,
pick. Lock
Graham.
it in.
The Mountain.
Okay.
Or is he going to get his own standalone?
I feel like the Mountain can't die because I think at some point, or no, the Hound, because the Mountain's in King's Landing, right?
Right.
But I feel like the Hound and the Mountain have to have like a face. Like I feel
So they'll
like they
have
have
a
to face
standalone?
each other. There has to be a face off between the 2 brothers at some point. Like I think they have to do that. So I don't think the Hound's gonna die yet. But maybe.
So the Hound stays living, and until he can fight the Mountain, or
Yeah, I
have
think
at
he's
least their
gonna,
last
like-
moment together.
Yeah, because I feel like they have to give you some closure on what the fuck happened to the Mountain, you know, and like his brother, the brotherhood of the 2 of them. I feel like they got to fight it out one more time. But
Well, on that, I'm going to head back to Drunk Mountain, ladies and gentlemen. You guys can pick it up from there. Continue on with the draft. Brenton, you got it from here, buddy?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
All right.
When
I
you
love
come,
you guys.
Love you too. When you come
I'll be back on
Fun, Steve.
Friday night.
Okay.
All right. Enjoy your
I'll be
trip.
back on Sunday. Thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Safe
I love
travels.
you.
Wear sunscreen.
Let's
Bye,
go Giants.
Steve.
Come on,
Go
Giants.
Bills.
Don't fuck this up.
Are you gonna watch it tomorrow, Brenton?
No.
You're not? Are you gonna follow
I
it?
don't watch the draft. I'll follow the 9th pick,
Yeah.
and then I won't care after that.
Yeah.
And I'll text you and ask you how it was.
Okay, and I'll
you'll tell
say
me
it was pretty
great,
good. It was great. I'm very
and then I'll feel
excited.
good, and then
Yeah.
we'll hit the season, and the Bills will collapse.
Well, I'm very excited. Okay, the really thing I'm looking out for tomorrow is Iowa will have probably the first 2 tight ends off the board. So, go Hawkeyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope the Bills take T.J. Hawkinson. I don't think a receiver is worthy of the top 10, but
Who's
I think
T.J. Hawkinson?
he's the
The
tight
tight
end
end,
from
yeah.
Iowa.
Okay.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I watched some film on ESPN on him.
Well, didn't they just pick up Tyler Croft?
Yeah,
So
But
they would
it's
have
still-
that wouldn't be bad to have 2 decent
Yeah.
tight ends.
yeah. And plus,
They need that.
you're filling kind of a blocker and a receiver need.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I'm hoping for it, too.
I really like Josh Allen. I think he's going to be good.
I hope so.
Brenton's very much you're very much like your dad as far as Bills fans go. You're very realistic.
I've been
and-
going to games since I was little.
Yeah.
I've watched every game for 27 years or something.
Yeah. There's
He
no
had a
there's
decent
no
first
reason to
year.
have hope. No, Brent does watch every game.
Oh, I mean, I know. I know
don't
his
watch
heart-
the games. That's why I have hope. I that's why I watch the draft, because they sell me hope every year.
Mm-hmm.
And they do such a good job of it. Now they sell me hope in prime time. I was watching it in 2004, my first year of college, when it was 7 hours on a Saturday and each team had 15 minutes in the first round. It's like, and nobody watched it, but eventually it grew, and now it's going to be on prime time on network TV.
It's in Nashville this year?
It's in Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I like the way they're doing other cities now. 'cause
Yeah,
it
it's
makes
a
it
road
exciting.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, Tebow said he went to the Chicago one last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
When it
Well,
comes,
they're also doing, on the 3rd day of the draft, they're allowing teams to have their draft picks in special places. So, like, Buffalo's going to be in Rochester. They're
really?
going to be
that's
making
cool.
the picks from Rochester, and they said there were 13 different cities that are going to be, like, involved in all this.
Well, a couple
So it's
years
just
ago.
to create, like, a party atmosphere in, like, cities that are football, like Rochester was a big part when football started.
Yeah, there was a last year, or the year before, one of the teams, like, they'll have old Hall of Famers that played for that team, or like kids with cancer come out and make the pick. One of the teams was going to have a kid with cancer come out and make the first round pick, and then they traded out of the pick.
Oh, that's so fucked.
But like,
I thought you were going to say the kid died before the pick.
no, that wouldn't be funny. Oh. Yeah, dude, I think I told you, Brenton, but like a couple years ago, Al Madrigal got to make the 4th round pick for the Niners.
Yeah, I remember that.
He picked George Kittle from Iowa.
That's
and I
great.
talked to Al about it because, of course, it's a tight end from Iowa, and I get excited. But, and then Kittle's a Pro Bowler now.
Yeah, he blew up last year.
Yeah. And that's like a 4th round pick, which isn't supposed to happen. And Madrigal got to make the pick, and he had a couple cheerleaders next to him, like shaking pom-poms for 3 minutes, like as he's making the pick. I remember, like, yeah, that's kind of weird. I'm so excited about tomorrow, though.
Was he actually, is Al Madrigal actually a huge 49ers
He's
fan?
a huge Niners fan.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he liked football. that much.
He loves it. Like, he goes to every game.
He knows the owner fairly well, so he gets like the whole box treatment, and
Very
nice. he watches the game quite different than we watch the game.
He parks under the stadium.
I'm
He's
pretty
like, "There's-"
pumped about that Thanksgiving Day game.
I am too, against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're 4-4 all time on Thanksgiving Day.
Really?
Yep.
Last time they played on
Last time
Thanksgiving
we
was
won
the
was
Lions, I think.
1975.
Whew. That's listen, I'm gonna eat a crap ton of food anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let it affect me
Yeah,
too much.
Rough day.
But the Bills also don't. They're the only team that doesn't have a primetime game this year. Do you know that? Nobody wants to watch the Bills at night, I
No.
guess.
Can I ask you what you think of the Bucks? What they're going to do?
I keep seeing Devin Bush.
Yeah, the running
Which,
back.
no, he's the linebacker,
Oh,
and
oh.
he's a position that isn't traditionally coveted, like top 10, kind of like safety, like whatever. Like I think he's an inside line. I don't know what kind of linebacker he is, but it's not the if you can look it up. But it's not the kind of position that traditionally goes as high as he will. But he's just so talented that.
NFL.com is speculating either Josh Jacobs, Montez Sweat, or Devin White to the Bucks
At 5, Josh
Yeah.
Jacobs, they say.
at 5.
I'd be shocked if a running back goes in the top 10. Because like receiver, there's a lot of teams that need a receiver, but if the player isn't worthy of that kind of spot,
You can always get a receiver that's the equivalent in the next round. Or
Yeah.
the third round or
Yeah.
the fourth round.
and I think when you get to the teens, there's going to be a lot of teams trying to trade out because the difference between the 50th player and the 15th player isn't that drastic.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's just a linebacker.
Yeah, which you have to be a damn good linebacker to go in the top 5 or 10.
And we just got rid of Levante. Didn't Levante David? He left the Bucks, right?
Did he?
I thought he did.
Okay.
Or one of the bigger players for the Bucks. They lost him this year and for the defense. And I was like, why would we lose him just to draft somebody?
Yeah. Do you remember where Derek Brooks was picked? I know he's a first-round pick.
Oh, I want to say in the top 5.
I want to say too. So like he was a kind of once in a generation kind of talent. I've heard the same thing about Devin Bush. Michigan should have at least two players go in the first round. Now this is crazy. I think there's only gonna be one player from the Pac-10 going in the first round.
Really?
That's it. There's no USC guys.
No UCLA.
Yeah. There's a tackle from Washington State, Andre Dillard. I think he's the only Pac-10 player that'll go in the first round. And then the over-under in Vegas for SEC players going in the first round is 12.5, which is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm an NFL GM, I would take SEC or Big Ten. I'm a big fan of the Big Ten. Tomorrow, if Haskins goes in the top 10, he'll be the first quarterback from the Big Ten to go in the top 10 since Kerry Collins in 95.
Wow.
That's crazy for me to think about.
Brooks went 28th.
Okay.
They traded up to get him.
Really?
They traded the Cowboys 2 second-round picks to get him.
Dude, it's such a crapshoot, too. It's such a crapshoot. When the Cowboys took Dak Prescott, he was a 4th-round pick. They were trying desperately to trade back in the first round. They were trying to trade with the Bills to take Paxton Lynch before the Broncos could. And then they weren't able to do it. They were offering the Bills kind of crap. They were offering like 2nd, 3rd-round picks for a 1st-round pick, and the Bills didn't take it. And then they had to settle for Dak Prescott, who Paxton Lynch is busted.
Yeah.
And Prescott's
He's decent.
Yeah, I like him.
He's not terrible.
Yeah, so
he's not Paxton Lynch.
He's way better than Paxton Lynch. So, these GMs will get heralded as geniuses or idiots, but truth is, a lot of it is luck. You don't know what's in a guy's heart.
Or if they're going to get injured the next day.
That too, yeah.
Injury prone.
Yeah.
NFL hits different than college.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying about Kyler Murray is he might be good for a year or two, but he's going to get hit like by NFL players now, and that his career is not going to be that long because he's going to want to play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying he's going to back out because he'll want to play baseball. Otherwise, his knees are fucked.
You know what, though? If he plays baseball, it's just like Drew Henson. It's like if you fail at one sport,
You'll fail at
you're going to fail at the other.
And then you look at Brian Jordan and Deion Sanders, who succeeded at both.
Yeah. I didn't even think of Brian Jordan. I
was
haven't thought of
amazing.
him in years. Yeah.
I loved him.
See, remember Jeff Samardzija?
Yeah,
I could have seen him being great at both. I actually got to meet him because he played for the Iowa Cubs.
He was decent at both. He wasn't great.
He would have been a
at both, but he was
first-round pick
decent.
as a receiver if he had stuck with football, but he decided in college he wanted to play baseball, which was probably the right decision. He
It
made
was,
millions of
by far.
dollars, was a starting pitcher in baseball.
For at least 5 years, he played in the majors.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't get to play for 1 year.
Yeah.
So
Tim Tebow, speaking of,
Mm-hmm.
pull up this video. If you just Google, this happened yesterday. Tim Tebow accidentally kicked his first base coach in the groin. So
Did he
that's
do
how-
the
that's
Jesus
how he's
pose
doing.
after?
That's how he's doing in baseball right now.
Listen, Tebow time was a real thing, though. There was something about
He won a
him-
playoff game.
Yeah, he would play like crap for the first 3 quarters,
You
and
know,
then the
he's
4th quarter.
31 years old, so he could still get called up. I mean, 31's not super old in baseball.
Well, and as a Mets fan, they didn't think that he would be this good. They didn't think he'd still be playing baseball 3
No.
years later. So
No,
good for him.
He's hitting decently. 45 at bats, 222 average, 18 strikeouts.
Those are Michael Jordan baseball numbers, Brenton.
Get him on the bus. You know, Brody was really like, that was one of his like proud Periscope moments. Is when he got to go to the Mets spring training, and Tebow it was one of his first at bats for the Mets.
Yeah.
And Brody actually Periscoped. It got like 50,000 people watching on his Periscope.
Wow.
He was just like, every time he'd bring it up, and Tim Tebow on the Periscope.
Yeah, Emma, when you're talking about the apple cider vinegar on the leg for the sunburn, I kept thinking, did Brody tell you that?
It's funny because a friend of mine taught me that literally last week because he was on a shoot in the desert and forgot to wear sunscreen, and he was like so sunburned, and someone had told him this, and I watched him do the apple cider vinegar for like a few hours just while we were hanging out. Every like 30 minutes he'd put it back on, and it was within hours the sunburn was gone. It was mind-blowing, and I thought about it. I was like, I wish I could tell Brody about this other use for apple cider vinegar.
I think Brody probably already knew.
He probably did.
It helps with sunburn.
This is the Tim Tebow. Well, more advertising. I like how they put the ads inside now so you can't skip them.
No, this isn't it. This is the
interview.
Yeah, the actual interview. I guess he's got a new show.
Oh, Tebow does?
Yeah, he's got a TV show.
And is it called Tebow Time?
What is it called? Is it called Tim Spin?
Sounds terrible.
He's saying speeding up the pace of the game would really help make baseball more exciting. Well, maybe if you didn't suck, baseball would be more exciting.
Now, I don't think Kyler Murray, though.
This is the video.
Oh. I don't think he's going to bust, though. And if he does,
there it is.
I don't know if he'll go straight to baseball. I'll be shocked.
Maybe he should spend less time praying.
Listen, God won a playoff game for the Broncos.
I mean, he's won more than a lot of the quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. Now, Eric, are you going to watch the draft tomorrow?
Of course, yeah. I only watched the first 2 rounds.
Yeah,
and then after that, I'm just like, what? I don't need to know who's drafted I don't need to know who the insignificant player is.
Yeah, I'll follow.
I'll just go on Twitter.
Yeah, that's not.
I'll wait till the Bills pick, and then.
Well, I like what ESPN they banned it like probably 6 or 7 years ago, but they used to tip the picks, which I hated, right before. And I forgot to tell. One of the best parts about the draft is watching Goodell get booed. He gets booed in whatever city he's in. Whenever Goodell comes out,
he sucks.
The fans hate him. I love it, but he has to come out anyway because he's the commissioner.
Yeah, but he sucks.
He's terrible.
He should get booed.
Yeah, I'd boo him. I'd boo him even when I watch him on TV.
All the money he wanted and the private jets, fucking ridiculous. And they won't provide these players with care after they're retired, and they have CTE and brain damage, and they're killing themselves. Like, he's a piece of shit.
I think this computer has CTE.
Well, Steve's dropped it on its head a few times.
Yeah, it's not working that great right now.
Is that the official What's the Odds computer?
Yeah, that's our little tablet.
Yeah.
It needs to be cleaned or fixed. It's not working. It's like it's clicking on all kinds of screens right now, so it's not actually letting me do anything.
But following mock drafts, the dumbest thing that analysts do the day after the draft is they grade it. You can't grade a draft until 3 years after. You can't. You don't know how it's going to pan out, who's going to work out. But teams will get bad grades from analysts because they didn't draft according to the mock draft that they saw. It's like, well, you're not an NFL GM. You don't know half the information that these guys probably do.
Yeah, Mel Kiper's an idiot. I don't like listening to him. I feel like his drafts, he always picks these people, but it's like obvious ones, and then the rest are crapshoot. Anybody could guess it.
Yeah. Yeah, he infamously, you remember the Trent Dilfer pick, yeah.
Of course I do.
Did you ever see the 1990 draft? It's insane. The top 5 of that draft.
It was 2.5.
You didn't see it?
It was 2.5 years old.
Oh, so you did see it. Okay. The first 5 picks, the first pick was Troy Aikman. The third pick was like Barry Sanders. The fourth pick was, remember, Derek Brooks? Mm-hmm. Or Derek Thomas, I'm sorry.
Derek Thomas, yeah.
And the fifth pick was Deion Sanders. All 4 of them are in the Hall of Fame. The second pick was by the Packers. They took who was the offensive lineman that was a huge bust? You know what I'm talking about, Eric? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. God.
No, because right when you said it, I was thinking Reggie White, but he's a Hall of
No.
Famer. He was an 80-something.
Yeah. Oh God, what the hell's his name?
I wish I
But
could
he's an infamous
pull it up.
bust, and everybody says, like, you know, especially because the players he was surrounded by and picked by, like when the Raiders took Jamarcus Russell first overall, they could have had Calvin Johnson, they could have had Joe Thomas, they could have had Adrian Peterson, they could have had Marshawn Lynch, Darrell Rivas,
Tony Mandarich.
Tony Mandarich. That's the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Right when I saw his name, I was like, oh yeah, that's him.
God. Was it 90? Was that the right draft?
It was 89.
89. Okay.
But yeah, he comes up with Ryan Leaf. Immediately, you know he's a bust if he pops up with a Ryan Leaf.
But it's crazy. Some drafts aren't as great as others. Like 2005, you know, when Aaron Rodgers fell all the way to 27, that draft wasn't that good. The Niners were picking first, and they were debating between Aaron Rodgers, Antrell Roll, and Alex Smith. Like, that was not a very talent-filled draft.
No. But Alex Smith wasn't a terrible.
He wasn't terrible.
He was definitely worth a second-round pick for sure overall.
He was worth a second-round pick.
He was a first-round pick, but he was
a first overall pick.
Yeah. But in his career longevity, he was definitely worth a second round too.
Yeah, and who thought Aaron Rodgers would be as good as he has? I remember that draft. He's coached by Jeff Tedford, who, you know, coached Kyle Bowler and Trent Dilfer and all these other first-round picks that were not that great. So I think teams were hesitant to take.
Do you think
him.
any of these quarterbacks that are out of the league right now will come back? Like, let's say a Kaepernick or a Johnny Manziel. Do you think they have any chance of making it back to the NFL?
No. Those two especially, no. I don't know. I think if you're out of the NFL for like 2 years, how do you come back? It's the NFL, you know? Those hits hurt. They got to.
Yeah, but I'm sure they still have a way to train to keep that active. Like you saw Des Bryant try to come back after. He's trying to come back after 2 years.
Is he?
Yeah.
You think he'll come back?
Possibly, if there's a team that needs a wide receiver that can't find one in the draft.
I think also tomorrow there could be a player traded that nobody expects. There's going to be a couple things happen that.
Jameis Winston, please, Jameis Winston.
It could happen.
I hope so.
To the New York Giants.
That'd be amazing. Actually, I was thinking Rosen for Jameis Winston. I thought about that the other day, and I was like, I would take Rosen. He's younger, and I think he has more upside. Jameis Winston's kind of a bust already.
I think the problem with Winston is you don't know if he's a bust. Like, at least some players, they'll bust right away, and you can just cut the cord right away.
Yeah.
Some give you a glimpse of hope, and then you stick with them for 2 years too long.
Until they molest an Uber driver.
And, do something really stupid.
You drop them after their Uber rating's lower than their quarterback rating.
That's funny. I think the Bills, though, I could easily see them trading out, though, and getting more picks. Because I think at 9, they're in a weird spot where the elite prospects will probably be gone. And their needs, they really need a receiver, but there's nobody worthy at 9. Mm-hmm. So I could easily see them trading with, like, Miami, Washington. I think Washington wants to get up and get one of the quarterbacks, especially if Haskins falls.
Do you think Miami will take a quarterback, or even though they got Fitzpatrick?
I think they will in the first 2 rounds.
What would we get from Washington, though, if we traded the 9th pick? Because they're
for like 15, probably at least a second-round pick.
2 second-rounders.
Yeah. I mean, they traded down they traded down when they took Tre'Davious White. The Chiefs traded all the way up like 16 spots, and they gave up, a first-round pick to get Patrick Mahomes. So the Bills could have had Mahomes. Instead, they wait a year. They give up their own second-round pick to trade up to take Josh Allen. Honestly, I'd rather have Mahomes.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Best quarterback in the league.
But that's why the draft is such a crapshoot. Nobody thought Mahomes would be this great. It's fascinating, though. I really wish I was a GM, and what I would do at the Combine is I would just slap a player in the face and see how he reacts. Because they ask him all these stupid questions, and it always gets leaked out. Players always tell the press, like, what random team asked him this, hey, are you gay or what? You've heard it. Yeah.
They have the 30 for 30 and all that. They talk about actually what the questions are that they're asked. And
yeah.
The one is his mom a stripper? Or is his mom something very about his mom. I remember you saying that earlier.
Yeah.
That's exactly the question they asked him. He's like, I didn't know how to answer it.
Yeah.
How would you answer it if you asked your mom's a prostitute?
Damn straight she is.
She's making good money.
Working at the lumber yard.
They got 3 stages, Brenton. I need to go back to the lumber yard. I haven't been there in years. Brent was there with Paulie years ago.
It's a strip club in Iowa. It's where men go to get wood.
Yeah, it's BYOB. All the strip clubs in Iowa are all bring your own beer, and there's like a $10 cover. And it's all full of truck drivers because it's right off like I-80, I-35. It's right,
How good looking are the strippers?
Oh, they're hideous. Or they're great looking and they got no teeth. There's always a catch. Like if you see a pretty face, you're like, oh, wait till she smiles. But that's the great story you have about like the woman negotiating a dance with you, like because you're like, I have a girlfriend. All right, $10.
Yeah, I didn't want to be there. I was forced there. Didn't want to be there. It was dirty. It was amateur night too, by the way. So they all had their teeth.
Brenton, every night's amateur night.
Yeah, and she started haggling. She's like $20. I'm like, no, I'm good. Okay, $10. No, thank you. $5. $1. I was like, I'm good.
$1 lap dance. You turned down $1 lap
Turned
dance.
down $1 lap dance.
Was it Boone Shakalaka?
No. But yeah, it was not a fan of Iowa.
Oh, I did mushrooms one time and went to the lumber yard. The last time I was there, I was on mushrooms.
Did you get $1 lap dance?
Women with 6 boobs. What?
That'd be awesome if there was that girl there all the time. You get $1 lap dance. That'd be a selling point.
Oh, it's such a shady place. All the crappiest strip clubs are always off the interstate, and you just see semi trucks parked outside. You know it's good if there's semi trucks all parked outside.
That's the last thing I want to know. Oh yeah, this is great. There's semi trucks. That's what those serial killers are, man.
Yeah. Now, have you seen the 30 for 30 about the '83 draft?
Oh yeah.
Have you?
Mm-mm.
Brent, you should. It's fascinating.
John Elway and all that.
Yeah,
right?
it's when the Bills took Jim Kelly. Talks about how great the quarterbacks are in that class, and it goes pick by pick by pick, and it's narrated by John Elway's agent, and he's talking about because Elway was picked by the Colts, and he said, I'm not going to play for the Colts, and so they knew he's going to be traded, but they were just seeing who was going to offer them what they wanted. Same thing happened with Eli Manning. He
refused to play for San Diego.
Yeah,
but that was a legendary thing that happened because Drew Brees ended up going there and then going to the Saints, right?
Yeah. Drew Brees. If Phillip Rivers, do you know what happened in that draft, Brenton? It's pretty fascinating. Phillip Rivers was picked 4th by the Giants. And the only reason the Giants picked him is because they knew they wanted to trade for Eli Manning and that the Chargers liked Rivers more than they liked Roethlisberger. If the Giants were picking for themselves, they said at the time we would have taken Roethlisberger. But they knew they had to take somebody that the Chargers would want to trade for. So they took Rivers, and Rivers was traded, the day of the draft for Eli Manning and a bunch of other picks. Rivers' agent, Tom Condon, held out because he's like, well, even though Rivers was the 4th pick, he was traded for the 1st pick, so he should be paid by like the 1st pick. So Rivers held out at training camp and into the season. Brees was given another shot because the Chargers had given up on Brees. They're like, we're drafting your replacement. We just don't believe in you anymore. Brees had a Pro Bowl season, came back, and then so Rivers was. I don't think he started for the Chargers for the first 2 years because of that. I think Brees was the starter the next year too, and then he injured his shoulder in the playoff game, and then the Saints were able to give him a free agency.
Yeah.
Nick Saban infamously is the coach of the Dolphins. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There were 2 teams that were going to get Brees in free agency. It was going to be the Dolphins or the Saints.
Thank God it wasn't the Dolphins.
Thank God.
It would have ruined him.
Yep. Nick Saban was coach of the Dolphins. He didn't think that Brees' shoulder was going to heal, so he traded for Dante Culpepper. Culpepper sucked for the Dolphins.
Brees has been one of the most fun players to watch in the last 20 years.
Yeah. It was dope. You weren't there when Sean Payton came to the Comedy Store, were you?
Oh, yeah. I got to meet him.
Yeah.
He was very nice. Yeah. I got to hang out. Well, not hang out, but meet J.J. Watt and his brother the other night, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're both. I said to J.J., I was like, oh, man, I love you. And his brother's right next to him. I was like, love you too, man.
Yeah. Sean Payton was so cool. And he's talking about, him and Brees, they've been coaching. And they've been with each other for like 13 years, or 12 or 13 years.
Yeah.
That kind of relationship's insane.
Just like Brady and Belichick, but
Yeah.
Peyton's actually a nice guy and probably warm.
Yeah.
And his wife is beautiful, by the way.
Oh, Sean Payton's wife.
Yeah, she was beautiful.
Yeah. Big fan of comedy. He says for every hour of film they watch 5 minutes of stand-up.
That's pretty awesome.
That is. And I'm like, you watch game film like I watch stand-up. That's what I told him.
You should send him your new 5 minutes on Comedy Central.
Well, once they cut it together and send it to me, I'm just allowed to see it because I'm up in the office, but I have no access to it. And it probably won't be
Saints War Room.
won't be shown until 2020.
There you go. Look
But
for it.
we should wrap it up.
Let's do it.
It's a happy draft day tomorrow.
Yep.
I
Hopefully
wish
I'm
you
not-
all
hopefully I'm not
the
crying.
best. And I hope the Bills do the right thing, but not expecting it to happen.
Go Bills. Is your dad going to watch it?
Nah, fuck no.
Is he going to follow it? Will he find out?
No.
Okay.
Me and my brother will tell him what happened, and then he'll be like, I don't care.
Remember, go mow the lawn.
Yeah. It's still snowing in Ohio. And he's gonna go mow the
How
lawn.
now? If the Bills were good, I'm guessing not nearly as many household chores would get done in Ohio.
Probably not. I mean, he would watch if they were good, but
Yeah.
they haven't been good in 20 years.
Yeah,
So they're not worth watching.
yeah. So he'll go outside and mow the lawn.
Yeah.
That's productive.
That's his thing.
That's
They were-
productive.
They were kind of fun to watch the first half of the season for the last 3 years.
They always are,
Mhm.
Eric. They always are. But
Yeah.
I may go over to your place more this year and watch them because
Yeah.
I just need to. It's healthy for me
To be sad.
to be sad.
With somebody else.
Yeah.
Have somebody to hug at the end of the game.
All right. Well, next week we'll talk NBA playoffs. We'll talk NHL playoffs. And by the way, do yourself a favor, even if you're not a hockey fan. It's been the fucking best year. First time in NHL history, the 2 number 1 seeds have been eliminated in the first round. Last night's Sharks Golden Knights game was insane. You have another Game 7 tonight. It's just been a fucking great playoffs so far. So we'll talk that. We'll find out who dies on Game of Thrones. And me and Steve will make a bet with something we'll have to pay off. So have a good week, you guys. Thank you, Lucas Hirl, for being here. Eric Oligny, Steve Rannazzisi down in Mexico, Emma in the booth, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you.